Hey, so I am with Jaime Jay, and we are going to have a business builder profile. Jamie is a friend of mine. We met some years ago in a mastermind group. And what does your mug say?
Says I am still in beta,
I'm still in beta. So aren't we all still in beta?
always learning.
We're still evolving. So I'm going to have a chat with Jamie, and what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about his company, which is Bottleneck Distant Assistants, and how he built that and what his journey has been through entrepreneurship and the ups, the downs. Maybe I'll have some secrets for us. So, Jamie, it's good to have you. Can you tell us a little bit about where you live, some of the basic life stuff?
Sure. Thanks for having me. I live in Springfield, Missouri. I'm married to my beautiful wife Sarah, and we have an awesome dog Nikita that just finally got over kennel rest for 8 weeks after he had his surgery. So he's having fun running in the yard after 2 months of being on lockdown. So that's neat to see him out there having fun. And we enjoy spending time together. We work together in the business. We love boating and playing hockey. That's how we met, is on the ice rink. So we just enjoy life. We don't believe in work-life balance. We believe in life balance. So we have a good time with it.
Nice. Yeah, and Catherine and I have had a chance to meet Sarah, and my daughter and I have had a chance to have lunch with you guys in Chicago a few years ago at Podcast Movement. So you guys are a great team. Jamie, so partly what I'm going to do is I love stick figures and I love arrows and boxes and things to freeform and diagram out businesses. I often do that when I meet a new one-on-one coaching client who is working to grow, and I'm going to do that on a side tablet. So if I'm looking down, it's not that I'm not interested in what you're saying, but it's because I'm kind of making some sketches that I'll go with.
It's only when you fall asleep that I know that you're not interested, right?
Then I'm definitely not interested, and I'm definitely not listening if I'm sleeping. That's for sure. So you can just yell or tell the bear in the background here to wake me up, right? Tell us a little bit about what does your business look like today? So we're going to start with the today scenario. What is it physically? Is there a building? What kind of people is it? What do you do? Some things like that.
Right. So today, Bottleneck Distant Assistants is a company where we source assistants, personal assistants, for CEOs and other executives, so that we can help to stop them focusing on the tasks that are like busy administrative tasks throughout the day, so that they can redirect their energy to focus on doing their best work. That's actually our provocative point of view. Stop doing the wrong things and focus on doing your best work. A lot of people in business today are taking up a lot of their time. They're saying they're working 10, 12, 14-hour days. And a lot of that is administrative, emails and, writing out sales letters and, doing all of that stuff. And a lot of that can be delegated to someone else. And so what our business is today is we specialize in sourcing personal assistants for super busy C-level executives or entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, things like that, so that they can get their life back. And so basically what we do is I've been sourcing assistants from the Philippines since 2006. So I've been doing it for about 14 years. Bottleneck has been in business since 2016 underneath the Bottleneck name. And I can't take credit for the name. That's my good friend, Mark Hafner. He came up with the name, and I thought it was a perfect fit, because oftentimes us as leaders are the bottlenecks in our business. We're the ones that are preventing us from moving forward. We need to get out of our own way. And it's really hard to be able to let go of your baby that you've created, or the position that you have, letting go of certain tasks, because you want them to be representative of who you are. And that high level, maintaining the integrity of that brand at a very high level, is very crucial to a lot of us as business leaders. And so letting go of that is a difficult challenge. And so we help people go through that, and we also help hire effectively. I've hired over 1,000 people hired and fired over 1,000 people in these 14 years. So I've really learned a lot about that process and what to look for and what not to look for, things like that. So we share a lot of that with our clients. We actually help prepare them to hire, and then we also train the assistants as they come in. All of our assistants are college graduates or equivalent, so that we make sure, because 100% of the universities in the Philippines are taught in English. And what a lot of people don't know is the English proficiency exams at a high school level more than double what the English proficiency is here in the US, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So they understand English. Now, there are some nuances that we have to get around there and stuff like that. So I never recommend hiring someone from the Philippines to be a writer, but they're fantastic in just about every other area.
Yeah. So I may get curious and ask some kind of questions that are like, I don't know, structural or like secrets of the business or something. So it's
Sure.
okay to say, yeah, well, that's like, I don't know, bottleneck secrets.
We're an open book.
Okay. So I picture, so you're in Springfield, Missouri, and
Mhm.
we're all connected by the internet. So you can connect with the Philippines. It's almost like being connected to somebody in Joplin, Missouri, just down the road from you in some ways, except the time difference is quite large. So how many? So it's like I picture you, and then Sarah works with. She's also a key member of Bottleneck, right?
Yeah, she
She's
handles all of our
in
payroll
Springfield.
and all of the financial end of it. We work with, Kurt Stowers probably. We work with him as our virtual CFO, or we say distant CFO now. We're trying to get virtual uh, out of our dictionary here. But yeah, Sarah does all of like payroll, QuickBooks, all of that stuff. She kind of manages all of that.
And Kurt is, I don't know, is he in Virginia or something?
Kurt,
Well, he's not Missouri,
he's
but he's
he's
not
in he's in Illinois,
Illinois. Okay.
Southern Illinois.
Yeah, got it. So any other staffers that are in the United States?
I have one that's here in Springfield, but I don't see him that often. He works from his home, and then of course we have a CPA who's in, I believe, South Carolina.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got it. So most of the people that are with the company are distant, are far away.
In the
So you
Philippines.
said they're not virtual. You stopped using the word virtual assistant, but most people would have heard that term, virtual assistant. But
Virtual
you're dropping
assistants.
it and you're simply saying they're distant. They're not the right.
Yeah, we created a brand new category called Dedicated Distant Assistants. And the reason why we wanted to do that is we wanted to make sure that we differentiated the fact that you can build an intimate relationship, albeit distant, with somebody who gets to learn your business, the tone, the voice, the brand, all of that. When you reference virtual, if you were to go and Google virtual assistants, most likely what's going to pop up is artificial intelligence, bots, or something like, and this is not bad. Like you can go to Fiverr, Upwork, and things like that, but those are more project based, more transactional based relationships, and we are in the business of building an intimate relationship with our clients, building that trust and that relationship, and we hope that when someone hires a distant assistant through us, knowing that they're dedicated, a single point of contact specifically to them, that they're able to grow with that company and they're there for the long term, like 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road. We want this person to be there with them.
Yeah, so I can already feel, Jamie, we talked before we started recording about how we'd probably do a profile about your business, and then we'd probably also do an expert interview. I can feel that they're gonna kind of mix and go back and forth. So that's okay. So we'll keep rolling with this. So how many people are in the Philippines and that are working with you?
Probably about 50 right now.
Wow. Yeah. So
I won't say probably 50.
Yeah, got it. Well, it could fluctuate.
Well, 51, because we just brought on a new one today. They're starting today at 1:00.
Yeah, so that's pretty amazing. So a handful of people in the United States and everybody else is in the Philippines. Do you go to the Philippines often?
Never been, actually. We were planning to go this year, but with COVID, kind of threw our plans off there. So as soon as everything's back to normal and we're able to go out there without sitting in quarantine for 2 weeks, we'll go out there and have a big party and invite everybody and do awards and all that kind of
That'll be
stuff. It'll be a lot of
amazing.
fun.
So that's fascinating. It's really fascinating, is it, with what you've built, right? So businesses are always they start in somebody's mind. It starts as a thing that may not start, the vision in your mind is probably not what ends up happening then down the road, right? Like I'm
Right.
gonna guess that in the years that you've been working on your own, you're nodding, like things have changed. You couldn't have visualized back then the way things would materialize. But nonetheless, entrepreneurs and business builders, I use that term builders because you guys are coming up with these ideas and then, like building, like making plans for it, much like a contractor would to build a house. And you nail a board one at a time and add another one and bring a piece of plywood in. And little by little, we build this business. And in your case, I just think it's incredible how there's 50 people working halfway around the world, and you've not been there at all, and yet it works, and it provides a valuable service for a bunch of clients who are getting these tasks done that before they thought they had to do themselves. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I love it. I love it because I always wanted to have a business. I always see those people back in the day. They'd be their business would be working for them, and they could take a laptop. I always say, anywhere I love it because I can go anywhere with an internet connection and I can work. And then the downside of it, though, is I can go anywhere with an internet connection and work.
Yeah,
But I wanted that freedom, and I thought, man, how can I do a business to where I don't have to worry about a brick and mortar office and alleviate all of that overhead? But how can I do this? And I thought, I'm doing it right now. Just take advantage of it. And I think it forces us, you said building a house. 100%. That's what I call the system. Building the system is building the house. But what's really, really important to know, and I think even with remote, it forces us to systemize even more processes, workflows, all of that, because we aren't in front of one another. We're not there personally. So you have to really make sure that people understand what it is that you need to have done, those goals that you set forward. Whether you're in a brick and mortar or not, that's super critical. We don't know what's happened in someone's day that morning before or the evening before. Maybe they had a close friend pass away. Maybe something happened. So when you talk to them that next day and say, do you understand that? And they say, yes. And then what happens is, and this happens in businesses all the time, a month comes down the road and you're saying, well, what happened here? You guys, what are you talking about? Well, why didn't you do this and this? I didn't know I was supposed to do that. So they didn't really hear you. And that's why it's really important to systemize process out these workflows. And then when you give instruction, what we do is we give instruction to someone like this Zoom call. And every time we click the mouse button, so every time the mouse button clicks, the mouse button there, that's a step.
Mm.
And so when I'm in a video like this, I'll say, okay, so the first thing you do is you're going to go to this website.com, and then you're going to click on something, go to this website. That's step one, right? They go to that website, take a snapshot of that. And what they understand is they have to do an written outline for that.
So just to stop and pause. So part of what's going through my mind, Jamie, and what I'm thinking is Business Builder Camp and the people it is made up of, and the people who may listen to this are those guys, and certainly women too, who listen to my podcasts and videos like this. So they've got a business, and I think what happens a lot of times is, and this often has happened over the course of years, but they built this thing where there's like, Fred knows about certain things. Fred holds all the secrets to certain processes and things that happen, and he knows where the information is stored. And then Joan over here, Joan does accounts payable, and Joan does fill in the blank of all the things that they do. So there's certain humans that have this corporate knowledge to make those things happen, and if they ever leave, it's like a nightmare, because we have to try to unwind all the things they do. And what I hear you saying is, because right from the beginning you're remote, and because right from the beginning you have people far away who might leave and they might decide not to keep working with you, you've had to document all these things out right from the get-go. And what you're describing is a way that you build processes. What I hear you saying, it's almost like watching a cooking show. You're clicking on a website and then verbally saying, okay, click here, okay, and then we do that. So this sounds like a way that people, business owners, could start to document some of their processes, whether they're doing it with a distant assistant or just on their own. Is that right?
One of my favorite sayings: do something as if it's the last time you're ever going to do it. And what you just described, we refer to that as the Michael Jordan syndrome. What if Michael Jordan leaves the basketball team? What the heck happens then? What's really nice about this, and sometimes you run into a little bit of a head-to-head with your staff member, your employee, when you ask them to document what it is they're doing, because they feel like, well, if I do that, I'm sharing all my secrets and then I'm out of a job. And you have to understand that that's maybe what they may be thinking. But so you reinforce that by saying, I really love the way that you do this. Our business is growing. And so we may need someone to come in and support you. I love specifically what you're doing because you've taken this thing and you've really run with it. So document everything that you do the way you do it, so that when someone comes on, they do it the exact same way that you do. And you guys can communicate easier. And I'll have the confidence knowing that I already trust what it is that you're doing. I know that by you delegating these tasks to this person and them doing it in the same way that you're doing it, that things are going to get done. This is scalability, right? And this promotes trust. This is positive culture in the workplace. And by the way, if someone does say that, and that has happened to me before, I had an editor, an audio editor, that said, I'm not going to share my secrets with you. I let that person go. They didn't have the right belief system that I wanted to share. And so we let that person go. I mean, that next day we let them go. We didn't mess around with it. And that we hated to do it. That person really needed a position, but that's how important culture is to us. And that's how important transparency is to us. And that's how we unify the team, because everybody wants to help everybody out. And what's really cool is that all of our assistants, even if they're not working directly with us, if they're working with our clients, they always can come to anybody on my internal team and ask for resources, workflows. How can I do this? What do you do in this situation? Because they have contact information for everybody on my team.
Got it.
And that's been really helpful.
So if I were to work to diagram out the business as it exists now, tell me how close I am. It seems like, you clearly have defined what you do, who you do it for, and why you do this. Like you're on a mission. Stop doing what did you say? Stop doing the things or the wrong things?
Stop doing the wrong things and focus on doing your best work.
Stop doing the wrong things. So you're helping these C-suiters and business owners, entrepreneurs stay in like their zone of genius and do the things that really matter in the business, and stop doing the wrong things. So you're clear that that's what you do, and you're clear that you do it through distant assistants in the Philippines. So it's not like you've got staff in the Philippines and then you've got some in like Senegal and you've got some in the Ukraine or something. It's just, we work with distant assistants in the Philippines. So very clear what you do. So, and so then I tend to think in terms of, Taki Moore used to use these phrases: attract, convert, deliver. So you go out and you attract new clients. You're looking for new clients, and there's probably a variety of ways that you get the word out there about Bottleneck and about these challenges that business owners could overcome if they connect with you. So you're attracting business owners or potential clients. And then there's a process you take them through to convert, or to sales is another word for that, right? Mm-hmm. Convert them from people that are merely interested to people who have desire for what you want, and they're willing to take action and do the next things. And then you find out the kind of person they are, the work they're doing, and it sounds like you even help them figure out which of those tasks are that could be delegated. And, yep. And eventually then you say, okay, look, here's the package, here's the offer, here's what we do. And if they say yes, then the deliver part is you're going to match them with the right type of dedicated assistant. So they're not working with a pool, they work with a dedicated distant assistant. So you do some matching and then have processes and procedures, and they have to be electronic and documented to get it kicked off right so that it starts, because onboarding whether onboarding with a new software program, doing a new project in your company, or starting with a new person like this, there's a lot of danger in that initial period to getting started right.
100%. Yeah.
So that happens. And then, of course, you have things like billing and keeping people on board. And maybe there's further services where you share with them information, your best practices, but wash, rinse, repeat, right? And
Yep.
find more assistants and find more clients and then have some managers.
Wash, rinse, repeat, revise, I would say, because as we
Nice.
grow, we learn more, and our systems need to be updated. Our processes need to be updated. Our messaging needs to be updated. So wash, rinse, repeat, revise, because documentation, as far as workflows and processes, or even higher, the system of your business, that's a living, breathing mechanism in your business. It always needs to be updated. And what happens is, as we grow, we start finding stress points, and these stress points get bigger and bigger, and all of a sudden cracks start happening as we grow. And so we need to find those stress points, identify those, revise what's wrong with that as we're growing. And we want to be as automated as possible, although we need that human element, that human touch there. But we're always course correcting and always course correcting. And what we found is, when we had five or 10, it was pretty easy.
5 or 10 assistants.
5 or 10 assistants, it was pretty
and
easy.
then clients, I guess, too, roughly.
Yeah.
Close.
And then above that, now all of a sudden it started getting a little bit harder, because now we're managing, now we're trying to onboard more. Our attention is getting dispersed in all these different areas. So we had to refine again. And so, and we just refined our entire business model during COVID. As we're talking right now, COVID is about 6 months into it. And that whole thing changed. So we revised again. So we're in a constant state of revisions.
Got it. So the recruiting, how do you recruit people in the Philippines when you've never been there? Like, how does that happen? Because it's hard to hire people. It's a common complaint amongst clients I work with. How do we hire people? There's no good people out there. It's hard to find people. How do you do that when you're half a world away, Jamie?
So it's our fault. It's us as business leaders. It's 100% our fault that we don't find somebody, because we don't prepare ourselves to hire somebody. We don't put ourselves in a position to be able to find that right person. And you do that in 3 ways. No matter where you're at in the world, according to Glassdoor, it costs $4,129 to hire somebody. To fire somebody could cost you up to 9 months' salary. Hiring is hyper critical to the success of your business, finding the right people, the right fits. If you don't do these 3 things, you're not going to be in a good place to hire somebody, because these 3 things are going to help you figure out who that exact person is that you need to hire. And in doing so, that's how you are going to be able to find somebody, no matter where they're at. Number 1 is the delegation roadmap. Number 2 is the job role and responsibilities, much different than a job description. And number 3 is meeting agenda and setting up your training schedule for the first 2 weeks. So in the delegation roadmap, that's where you list down every single task that you do in a given day, and you assign 2 values to those. Number 1, is it something you must do, or can you delegate this to somebody else who can do it? Here's the key: 80% as good as you, because they're never going to be as good as you, especially in the beginning. And you have to understand, when you hire somebody, things don't get easier, magically easier. They get a lot more challenging in the beginning. So you have to give them that 20% of learning curve there. If you come into it that mindset, now you understand it's going to be a little challenging to hire somebody, but I need to be able to train them and get them up to speed. The other thing that you do on the other value is this something that gives me energy or completely drains me of energy? Then you segment all of those lists of the tasks that you do on a daily basis into a delegatable task list, meaning that all of these tasks, and the difference between job role and responsibilities are, job role is a assistant, web developer, graphic designer. These are job roles. The responsibilities are the responsibilities of each one of these job roles. So what you want to do is segment the tasks into specific roles and list the responsibilities within those roles. And we have templates for all this, by the way. That it's all free. The other thing that you'll do is, one of the things that people think is if they hire somebody, they can do everything for them. This is a big misnomer.
Well, I wish they did.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. We call this the golden goose rule. If you go and you look up golden goose in the dictionary, it's going to be a lot different. The golden goose rule is basically, the way we see it is, there's not one single person that can do everything at the level in which you want them to do it. You're not going to find a graphic designer, a web developer, administrative assistant, audio editor, video editor. You're not going to find that in one person. So you have to set your expectations and understand what those are, and looking forward in a personal assistant. What can that person do? We have a program that can help alleviate a lot of this, by the way. And I'd be happy to go into that, but that's, it's a different story. But if you can itemize out all of those tasks that a personal assistant can handle, we recommend identifying high, medium, and low priority tasks. And in the high priority tasks, only do 2 to 5 of them. That's all you're going to train on in the first 2 weeks. Why? Otherwise, you're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to get stressed out. Your assistant's going to have all these different things going on. They're not going to know up from down, left from right, or anything. But if you focus on 2 to 5 tasks, the high priorities, the things you absolutely want to get off your plate right away, you can really drill down in a 2-week period and then build the trust and relationship with that assistant. Once you have the confidence that they've grasped these 2 to 5 different tasks and have successfully taken those off your desk, and they're doing them at the level that you expect them to do, you can then feel confident in delegating more tasks, more responsibility to them. And that's when they'll move into the medium priorities and eventually the low priority tasks to get off of your plate. So you don't eat an elephant all at once, right? Bite-sized chunks.
I haven't eaten an elephant. That's like, I guess not illegal. Depends where you go hunting, but yeah.
Steak, a big steak, right?
I got taxidermy behind me. I'm just joking. Hey, so but how do you? That's all great, and I made some notes on those things. I think that leads to understanding that delegation matrix would help your client, my client, Business Builder Camp members, to think about what are some things that they could shed, what are some of the wrong things that they're doing, and then pick out who else is going to do it. And in fact, it's probably true that there's people in organizations like a COO or a CFO that are also doing some of the wrong things, and those things can delegate, right, to an assistant.
Managers.
Yeah, so almost anybody in the organization could go through that exercise to see what doesn't give them energy, what isn't in their zone of genius, so on and so forth, and delegate it out. So thanks for that. What about just the practical, how do you find people half a world away in the Philippines to fill your seats?
So we've been over there. When I first started in 2006, we started a real estate ad agency. We all know what happened in 2008. I was very unlucky and very irresponsible at the time. But my partner in California was from the Philippines, and he introduced me to some of his family that were in the southern part of the archipelago in the Philippines called Cebu. Built a great relationship with them. And from there, I met other people around the Philippines. And over time, I've been able to build up a lot of trusted referral sources within the Philippines. Mm-hmm. And so keep in mind, the internet was not what it is today in 2006, 7, 8, 9, even 10, 11, 12. It's
hard to remember that, but totally, you're right.
But a lot of people today take advantage of this internet. The world's gotten a lot smaller. Indeed, and all these different places that are out there where you can go to hire somebody or put out a job description. I basically do the same thing now, but in the Philippines through my relationship. So we have a database of nearly 70,000 people that are actively searching for jobs based on all the relationships that we've built over there. So as far as us putting that out, we have a process, obviously, that we go through, but we're very specific, and we have a whole onboarding process that we do on the DA side as well as on our client side. So because of the relationships I built over there, that's probably one of the unique things about Bottleneck is we have a ton of relationships in the Philippines specifically. I've just tried to go to other countries and it just never worked like it does in the Philippines.
Got it. So, I mean, and so that's part of your business builder journey too, is this first connection. That's cool. 2008, first connection to the Philippines. Now,
2006, yeah.
all these years ahead, 12 years later, you've still never been there. And yet you have this group of people over there who I've seen some of your videos and things that have been posted on social media. People feel like they're part of your team, and people love Jamie and Sarah and working for the company. It's obvious, which is so cool that you can build a culture like that without ever having been there. And so now this makes sense to me, how they've come through personal referral, and then you've been very careful to put them through an onboarding process. And it also, like everything else you do, Jamie, you've got team members. You're not doing all the recruiting yourself. You've now delegated out the recruiting and the probably interview.
I actually do zero recruiting now.
Yeah. Tell me,
Yep.
Go ahead. What'd you say?
Yeah, I actually do zero recruiting now. We have a recruitment manager that handles all of it.
So you found a way to delegate that and give them a process.
Yep.
And they, how many, if you had to just take a wild guess to get to the 50 people you have now, how many people do you think you've sorted through and sent to?
3 to 6 people per position.
Got it.
Easily. Yeah, 3 to 6 people per position.
They come through referral, and you still sort through that many to get to the person that you actually hire.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about so that, that's been talking a lot about where you're at right now. And of course, how you could then help some people in my world, potentially, how you could help get them out of doing the wrong things. Now, and you've mentioned 2008. Was that the first time that you had your own business, or that you were dabbling around with entrepreneurship, or did it happen?
2006. I was in corporate America for about 12 years. Took me 11 years to figure out how to get out. And then I finally, in 2006, left. I was working at a radio station. I left and I started my own little SEO company. And my first client was that radio station. And then just kind of, and so which goes to speak volumes, leave positions on good terms. It's really good not to burn bridges.
Sure, yeah.
And for those people that love corporate America, God bless you. I think it's fantastic. If you're happy, go for it. It just wasn't
no shame, right? We don't need to have job shame.
Yeah, exactly. For me, for some reason I walked to the beat of a different drummer. I always thought the grass was greener on the other side, because I always have this like creative thing. And when I get tied down with legal and red tape and this, and I'm like, there goes my energy. And so I just wanted to do my own deal. And I thought since then, probably since 2006, besides the stuff I did as a kid, my brother and I,
Sure.
We had our lemonade stand and sold golf balls and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was probably the first time I really had my own gig. My dad gave me a painting company to do for the summer one time when I was younger, but this was actually the first time I really went out on my own, and absolutely scared to death, but absolutely loved it.
So that was in 2006. And then in 2008, you were doing this real estate ads work, and
Yep.
you had a partner who was in the Philippines, and the real estate market fell apart. And what are just some of the business, when I talk about that, like building, and maybe it wasn't all part of the building you're currently working on, right? Like you might have built a shed and another shed, and one of the sheds may have fallen down along the way. What are some of the like highlights, like boom, boom, boom things that you've built and envisioned in your mind and then put into action?
For Bottleneck?
For business in general, for businesses.
Business in general. Well, I was really proud. I mean, I was really proud of the real estate. We call it the real estate company. That was pretty cool. We built something out of nothing. We started our own real estate magazine. And I remember going around, our first issue was 8 pages. And within about a year, we were up to like, I think it was 48 pages or something like that. But the whole magazine was ads. I remember just going around and selling, and it was really neat because we outsourced the entire production of that magazine, with the exception of the printing, to the Philippines. They did the layout of the magazine. They did the graphic design. They did all that kind of stuff. And it was really neat. So I was really proud of that. My business partner and I, we built something out of nothing. That was pretty cool. I will say on the flip side of that, I was very irresponsible with my finances. We were making pretty decent money, and boy, 2008 crushed us. And we were in Stockton, California, which was ranked number 3 for most foreclosures per capita. 1 in 3 homes were foreclosed. We lost 72 clients in about 3 months. I lost everything. I didn't have any money saved, nothing. And the 2 things that I picked up out of that is when a crisis comes, the first thing to go is advertising and marketing budgets. The second thing to go is staff. And I thought, I'm going to put myself in a position, no matter what it is, wherever I get to, which took me several years to get to, by the way, so that I can make myself as recession-proof as possible. And that's what Bottleneck is today, in my opinion, because you can still find somebody that you can conduct your business with and delegate your stuff to for more than half of what it costs someone here in the US. And you can still leverage all of the resources that you need to get done to continue in building your business. And in a time of recession, it's my opinion that you need to double down on the marketing. You need to grow the business big time because everybody else is down. So why not go out in the spotlight when everybody else is down? So that's just a little thing that I learned that I really carry with me that has really, really helped us to this point.
So then, somewhere after that, I can remember when I first met you, you were building you were doing websites, and you were doing that with people in the Philippines. You had the Riding the Pine podcast that you were doing. I remember, we saw you at Podcast Movement because you were working to connect with more podcasters.
Yeah.
At some point, though, this idea of doing, I can remember you and Scott Beebe in the mastermind group we were in. I think that's who it was. Maybe it wasn't. No, maybe it wasn't. You'll remember somebody talking about having assistants in the Philippines and how do you do that? And how do you have an assistant? You guys had done a conversation or a chat about just how to do it, with the idea being that like we were all going to do it. And then at some point, this idea must have really caught hold for you where you're like, no, I'm going to do it for people because it's not practical that everybody is going to go find their own assistant, because we don't have this network of people that are trusted advisors who could refer somebody and make the connection for us. We don't know how to get started having somebody half a world away. So at some point, that idea of like pulling all those tools together into something close to what Bottleneck is now came on. When was that?
Yeah, that was probably 2015, probably. And directly because of our mastermind group that we were involved in. Everybody was asking, how do I get an assistant like that? And then I forgot who it was that mentioned, said, you should start this as a business. Because I was working with all the people in the Philippines. We had a web development business, or a creative web agency, and we were building websites like crazy. And other people wanted to know, how do you do that? And it kind of took over. And a good friend of mine out of Las Vegas, George O'Brien, he was kind of doing it too. And he and I had talked back and forth, and we almost went into business together, but he went out and started his own real estate business. And I really kept hold of this. And I think it's just something that felt comfortable to me. I just got it. And having those relationships already kind of set me up to put me in a position to have this business, because there's a lot of horror stories out there about hiring. I'll talk to a lot of people. I've tried that before. They wouldn't show up, or they didn't do this. And so we really built the business builder, right? We really built the business to support making good introductions and building, as corny as it may seem, beautiful relationships, intimate relationships.
Sure. So what is what's on the horizon for Bottleneck? Is it more adding more distant assistants and just scaling and working the system, or is there what are you seeing as your bigger vision? What's the rest of the set of the drawings, right? So we're using this construction drawings. What do I see if I flip the page?
Well, we're on a goal for 1,000. That's our goal, is to source 1,000 assistants, not necessarily 1,000 clients, but 1,000 assistants, dedicated distant assistants. And we're hoping to kind of move up a little bit to a little bit larger companies, small and medium-sized companies that have, maybe 100, 200, 600 employees. We talked with one company who did some government contract work. They had 628 employees and they had 12, if memory serves me correctly, 12 VPs, and each VP wanted an assistant. So that's kind of what we're looking at possibly doing moving forward, to get to that level. And then, because it's so process driven, my goal is to make myself replaceable. So that's the ultimate goal. And hopefully we can get someone that's much smarter than me come in and run it and kind of take over and grow it even more. But that's the goal. I think we can do that. Maybe grow to about 10, a sales team of about 10 people all around. We already have a quota attainment program set up and all that kind of stuff ready to rock and roll when we get there. We're building relationships right now with referral relationships with coaches and things like that. So that's a big thing that we're doing coming up next. And speaking a lot, trying to get the word out there. We're really big about the future workplace and the hybrid model. So I've learned a lot from a company called, from a co-founder, Dan Goldstern, at a company called Dojo.co. It's an AI company that helps companies figure out how many people can work there, where they can go and make it the most effective for collaborative efforts versus personal productivity. And also understanding this whole virus thing that scares so many people. So there's a lot of stuff there in the future workplace that we're doing. I'm working with Queen's University in Canada, and we're going to be delivering a state of future workplace post-COVID in a post-COVID-19 environment. And we're working on doing a lot of research, and that'll be a deliverable on March 1st. So we're working with their MBA program there.
So I have two questions, and I want to ask you how people can reach you but they want to take this further and find a dedicated distance assistant.
Yes.
Yeah, got it.
CDA.
So the first thing is, I think it's a common question, like why are we outsourcing work to the Philippines, and is it like what is the cost roughly? Just roughly, is it different versus hiring in the U.S.? Can you speak to that a little bit? Like why outsource and the cost? And
so we've done a lot of research in this. We're even coming up. This is something else we're launching too, as a cost calculator to compare and contrast the same position in the U.S. versus the same position for someone in the Philippines. And we're seeing about 60 to 70% savings. And people are saying, oh my gosh, what are you running, a sweatshop over there? And the answer is 100% no. I actually pay about 35% above market price. And this was pointed out to me by a gentleman that runs Outsource Accelerator, which is the largest blog on outsourcing in the world. And he's based out of the Philippines. And he asked me, Jamie, why are you paying them so much? Which I said, because I love these people. Anyways, we are paying them, but you have to figure this. Their economy is about 25% of what ours is here in the US. If I paid $2,000 a month here in rent or a mortgage, I can go there for the same place and pay about $250, $300, right? It's a big difference in the cost of living. I took the whole team out. I didn't, but I rewarded the whole team. They all went out to dinner together, and I said, no alcohol, but go for it. Have it, whatever you guys want. I got the bill, and it was like, and this was a team of, I think, 9 or 10 that went out to dinner. I got the bill, and it was like $80 for 10 people to just go for it, have a meal and all that stuff. It was insane. So that's number one. The average cost you're probably going to look at, because we do everything on a subscription-based level. We don't do hourly. We don't deal with all that because it's too much headache. We don't have to chase the money or anything like that. People sign up as a subscription. They pay in advance every 4 weeks, every 2 weeks, or every 1 week, depending on what they want to do. And they just pay that, and it just goes and goes and goes till they cancel. And then the average cost you're probably looking at is anywhere from about $1,000 a month to $2,400 a month, somewhere in there, depending on what it is that you're doing, from part-time to full-time work.
Got it.
So that's what we're looking at.
So last question is, I've got a client to give you an example, I have this client, Steve, who has a couple businesses. He goes to Alaska, he has a boat there, he catches salmon. He has a facility in Pennsylvania where they process the salmon into salmon patties and smoked salmon and things. They ship it on dry ice all over the country. They sell millions of dollars worth of wild salmon. He's got a tree care business where he goes and the crews there go out and do arborist work and cut down close tree limbs to people's nice houses. He does he's got another company. It's mostly e-commerce called Pride of Bristol Bay, and they sell salmon by the case. They've got a pretty big Facebook budget, advertising, Google AdWords, things like that. They've got websites for all these companies. He has started to do some podcast guest appearances. As you know, here's Captain Steve, this awesome guy that goes to Alaska. Could a distant assistant help a guy like that?
100%. Yep. Absolutely, positively. Because you look at anything that's repetitive, how many tasks does he do in a given day where he does that task again? Anything having to do with anything on the computer, anything having to do with reports, accounting, editing, web dev, web maintenance, marketing, social media management, anything that has to do with that. Graphic design for packaging. If he's doing any packaging, we can do graphic design. I go back to the golden goose rule again, to where you can hire a personal assistant that can help book his travel, right? Coordinate, project manage stuff from a remote location. That happens all the time. But what's also nice is we have a program called the Integrated Services Program. And this is how we overcame the golden goose rule. A lot of people that have companies like this that have so many different things going on to where they want to delegate a lot of that, they can build the relationship with one person, one dedicated distant assistant who reports directly to them, whoever they want them to report to, by the way, but whoever that person reports directly to them. And then what they do is they're also trained in project management internally, meaning that if you were to say, or this person, Captain Steve, was to say, hey, I want you to design a new label for my new, fish food, whatever it is. Okay, no problem, I can do that. But your assistant has no idea how to do graphic design, especially at a high level like that, a very professional level like that. But she goes, no problem. And what she'll do, or he'll do, is then delegate that to my internal team of designers, who are unbelievable, by the way. And then she'll work with them, do all the back and forth, make sure that it's right, all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, act as quality control. And then and only then she'll say, okay, Captain Steve, here you go. What do you think of the new design? He's only had to talk with one person. He hasn't had to worry about going and finding a designer. He hasn't had to worry about doing any of that. His new podcast comes out. As soon as he's done, we all know how much work a podcast is. When you're done, then you got to edit it. Then you got to write the show notes, and then you got to send it out to all the social media sites. And then you got to send an email to the guest and let them know, hey, it's published and all that. That's a lot of time consuming work. For me, all I do is hop on, I talk like to you, and then I'm done. I'll wipe my hands of it. Everything else is handled. The same thing can be done. He goes to his assistant, says, here's all my audio stuff. Let's get this thing out, as soon as we can. She then takes that, delegates that to my internal team of audio editors, internal team of podcast show notes writers, my internal team of publishers. They put it out there, and they report back, and they say, okay, it's all done. And then the assistant goes to Captain Steve and says, okay, your new episode's out. He's like, wow, that was.
Yeah, cool. So would the first step for a Captain Steve be to fill out the delegation roadmap, or how could they learn more about you and what you do? And tell us how we can get in touch with you and keep the conversation going, Jamie, if any of this is of interest.
Yeah, thank you. I would encourage everybody, first of all, to go to bottleneck.online/inquiry. And it's a really short, I think it's a 5-question form. And what we do is we send back a link to you to schedule a time to meet with us, do a free consultation. It's about 30 minutes long. And this is where we can just kind of, all we do is answer your questions, maybe give you a little bit of insight. If you want to move forward from there, we have a full-blown system process that we follow. And we send out a questionnaire. That questionnaire gives us a lot more details about what it is that we work on. And then is when we send you out the onboarding link to where you can register for free again. And you have all the materials that we do. And we're coming up with new courses all the time for our clients, so they can understand what the process is, understand about payroll, get all their questions answered. But what's most important is getting those first 3 steps done. And they have access to all the templates that we created for them on their behalf. And it's all video driven. And all the videos that we do, we kind of go over, this is what a delegation roadmap is. This is a job roles and responsibility. But then I also have one of me going through the actual template and showing you, hey, this is what we do here. This is, to kind of help them fill everything out and keep them on track. And then, so the whole process, and they haven't paid us any money, by the way, at this point, 0. All of this is to support them. And you can use this either remotely or brick and mortar. It's very, very helpful for the hiring process.
Got it. Very good. Bottleneck.online/inquiry. Jaime, thank you. It's been fun hearing about the business and how it's evolved and what's next. And congratulations on all the things you've created.
Thank you, Wayne. Yeah, it's awesome.
And I'm looking forward to seeing you again somewhere down
Yeah.
the road here. We do these virtual chats, but I still like to see people live. So we'll do that sometime.
I can't wait.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Thanks, Jaime.